Welcome to the Craftsman interview. I'm Jim Connell. I'm here with John Kula, who is the VP of Forest Packaging in Elk Grove Village. And a shout out to my friends in Libertyville. I want to tell you a quick story about John. When we were doing the Main Street Libertyville raffle, John saw it online, loved the fact that we were supporting small business, and donated $500 to the cause. And I just thought that was a really cool thing. And we were talking earlier about your support and the importance of the support for small businesses. And I just think that was thank you.
No problem.
Bottom line. Thank you.
Least we could do.
Thank you. So Forest Packaging, over 50 years old. Take me back to the beginning.
I was started by a gentleman by the name of John Kissick.
Okay.
And it was started in 1966 in Forest Park, where Forest Packaging got its name not because of the trees or whatever. It was
a little trivia.
Forest Park. And then it moved to Addison. I don't know what year it moved to Addison, but then my father, Greg, joined the company in 1980 and then took it over in 91, bought it, and it's been family run business that way, with me being the second generation.
Okay. And your brothers, Jeff, is involved too?
Yes.
Yep.
So my brother's involved as well.
So tell me a little bit about your start in the business, because if your dad bought the business in the 80s.
91.
Or 91, I'm sorry, but he started in the 80s.
Yes, correct. Well, actually, he started in the 70s at Cornet Container.
Oh, he did? Now, where was that?
That, I think it was in Villa Park, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But they were really ahead of their time as independent corporation, and unfortunately the owner, I think, died in his 40s, but he had corrugators and all kinds of high-end fancy equipment for the time back in the 70s.
Okay.
When he got sick, my dad ended up leaving there from Cornet Container because he kind of saw the writing on the wall, and eventually the company was bought up and then run into the ground and ultimately disappeared.
Okay. So then, but this started out as Forest Packaging in Forest Park.
Correct.
And just tell the audience a little bit about what it is you guys do here.
I mean, we do everything from your mundane brown box cartons all the way to what you see behind us here is retail packaging displays. We'll create whatever our customers' needs are from the standpoint if they've got widgets and they got to get from point A to point B with a minimal amount of packaging, but yet get to the final destination unharmed. And then just you name it, we've gotten into all kinds of specialty gluing, labeling, taping, anything funky or weird. That's kind of our niche. We like doing those things because anybody can run a brown box. But how many people are doing the weird, the hard, I wouldn't say the impossible, but the very challenging. And that's kind of what we strive to be, because, I mean, you got to make yourself different. So that's what we strive for.
Yeah. So what's the most unique or oddest thing you've done? Because you just said it, but we were talking earlier as well, and you were saying we do the weird.
Yeah.
Well, give me a weird.
Oh gosh, we a customer of mine that they've got chipboard stay flats, and a customer came to us. They were putting large posters in. They were putting them into book folds and scored sheets and taping them on 3 sides, and it was very cumbersome, labor intensive. And they said, "Can you make a stay flat out of corrugated?" I said, "I don't know, but we give it a shot." And we ended up coming up with some samples and prototypes and different tapes, and it was a pretty drawn out process for about 2 months, and then ultimately we had to add additional features onto a specialty glue of ours, and I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And then, ultimately we took the chance, and it worked, and basically saved our customer a lot of time on the aspect of pack outs, shipping. I mean, it just reduced all their costs all the way across the board, even though their corrugated price for the carton itself went up a little bit. Ultimately, it saved them a lot of money, time, and headaches, and ultimately, we're still running the same carton here for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer.
Really? So a stay flat, just a big envelope, right?
Correct. And,
So there's a lot more design involved with some of this stuff than meets the eye.
right. It was a simple design, but trying to execute it and put it into what they were looking for. It was definitely larger in scale, and didn't know if the tear tape was going to work ripping through the corrugated that we applied on there. And then basically they took a project or a process they were taping on 3 sides and literally took the self-release off the tape and then released that after they put the product in, stick it, and that was it. So it's kind of like mailing an envelope without having to do all the work to it.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in a way, an odd thing. You categorize that as weird, and you look at the stay flat, and it's a big envelope, but yet, it gets into the design process. You guys designed here, and can you share? You're obviously designed displays. What are some of your favorite projects, John? What have you done that maybe stands out aside from the stay flats?
Oh, geez. I just think just in general with, customer comes to us with a problem and trying to figure out can they pack something a little bit easier. They're having damage issues or they're having just any kind of problems in general. And we can come up with a solution that makes their life easier. And ultimately they can get something packed out in half the time or a quarter of the time or 3/4 of the time. And that to me is a success that way, that we're, using our brains and coming up with something that
It's creative.
Yeah, just to take something simple or something that somebody goes, gosh, I never even thought of that. Just because you're looking at somebody's been doing it for 20 years that way or 10 years or whatever the case might be. And you go, well, what if you did this, this, and this? And then all of a sudden they go, oh, nobody ever brought that up.
You showed me a cool, I just call it a box, it's packaging. You showed it to me a couple weeks ago, and it was it held like wine glasses, and it kind of suspended the wine glass inside the box, and I thought it would just look cool. And when I was asking you about it, you said, well, that's because they kept getting breakage, which makes sense.
Right.
But you think of these little design aspects of things is what kind of fascinates me. I like the creative side of it. Is like, well, wait, what if we suspend this glassware in the box instead of putting a bunch of padding around it? And you had some dividers in there and stuff like that. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's taking basically what you're trying to do is create air around the product with minimal amount of product, so that when it gets shipped, if it gets smashed, I mean, there's nothing's going to stop it if you run a fork truck over or somebody stomps on it. I mean,
does that happen?
Well, UPS, yeah. They tell you it's your packaging's terrible, but they destroy it. That's besides the point.
That's business, man.
Right, exactly. But if you take a look at what you're trying to do, and you're just trying to create an air cell around that product so that it survives the ultimate harshest conditions, from being whipped around by a package handler to loaded onto a truck, and then how many points it gets touched at all the way to your doorstep.